See anything, so let me, yep, there it
Yep.
is.
Yeah,
It's
there it is.
recording now.
Okay, very good. So welcome everybody to the webinar on the student funding programs for Nevada NASA Space Grant. I am Eric Wilcox. I am a research professor at the Desert Research Institute on the Reno campus, and I'm statewide director for Nevada NASA Space Grant and also the NASA EPSCoR program. Darlene, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Darlene Aranda. I help Eric administer the programs, and I am the student's point of contact.
Very good, thank you. So the purpose of today's meeting is to go over the solicitations for the Nevada NASA Space Grant Consortium Undergraduate Scholarship Program and the Graduate Fellowship Program. This meeting is being recorded, and we're going to post this meeting recording so that students that weren't able to attend can bring up the recording and view it later and get the information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take hopefully not more than about half an hour to go over the solicitations for these two programs and hit on the key points. And then I'll open it up for questions once I've done going through that, and we can take questions. You can either turn on your microphone and ask your question or type a question in the chat or whatever. There's not a huge number of us, so it doesn't have to be particularly formal. But first of all, let me give a sort of overview of the programs and the solicitations. To do that, I'm going to share my screen. So I always start by showing everybody our webpage and where you can find these solicitations. You probably have been there already if you're at this meeting, but just in case not. This is the website for the Nevada NASA programs. You can see the URL at the top. What I always do is just type Nevada NASA programs into Google, and it's always the first hit. And it takes you there. And then to find our funding opportunities, you just click the tab up here where it says funding opportunities. And at the top is always our list of programs for students, which is what we're here to talk about today. So you'll see here the links to the undergraduate scholarship and the graduate fellowship program, two separate programs. So I'm just going to click on the link for the scholarship just to illustrate. And this takes you to the specific program or the specific page for this program. Talks about the focus of Space Grant and the scholarship program, talks about eligibility for scholarships under this program, talks about the scholarship amount, and then an announcement for this meeting, which you're already at, and then the deadline, which is March 25th for the scholarship at 5 p.m. And then the key thing is the link to the actual solicitation, which has all of the details for how to apply. And that is this link at the bottom. If you click that, it'll take you to a PDF file, which I'm going to show in a moment. We'll switch to the PDF file, and we'll go through that PDF file in some detail momentarily. To actually apply for the scholarship, ultimately, you will click this link here, and that will ask you some questions and invite you to upload your application folder or your application file that has your proposal information in it. So that's the website and where to find the solicitation. That was the undergraduate scholarship. The web page for the graduate fellowship looks very similar. It's just the parameters of the fellowship program are different than the scholarship. So it's on a different site, and there's a separate link there to a separate solicitation and a separate link to a separate application site for that. So I'm going to start by going over the PDF file for the solicitation for the undergraduate scholarship program. And once I go through this, then I will go through the same document for the graduate fellowship program. And then, as I said, we'll open it up for questions at the end. So Here's the cover sheet for the undergraduate scholarship announcement and solicitation. Again, the deadline for this program is March 25th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I showed you the link where you're actually going to submit your proposal through our webpage. And very important point to emphasize right off the bat, do not wait until right before 5 p.m. on March 25th to submit your proposal. The website will, I believe, ask you to answer some questions. So you want to be prepared for some time to see those questions and respond to them. You also have to upload your proposal file through the web page, and I can't always guarantee that there won't be some technical problem with that submission. So you want to make sure that you get started early enough that if there's some technical issue, you still have time to get your proposal in. And if you do have technical difficulty submitting your proposal, you can always reach out to us. I'll show you our contact information is at the end of the document. And if for some reason the website is crashed or doesn't respond or whatever, you can submit your application to us by email. In that, if under those circumstances, we will accept it by email. However, we will not accept it after the deadline. So if you log in, or if you try right at 4:59 to submit your proposal and you run into difficulty, and then you try to email it to us at 5:15 p.m., we can't accept it. For fairness, we have to be strict on the deadline. So again, please do not wait until the very last minute to start your submission. Undergraduate scholarship opportunity. It starts off right at the top with the paper-clipped attachments. And so I always like to emphasize at this point, if you go over to the right side here where there's a little paperclip, key thing, when you click the link to see the solicitation, it might open in your browser. You want to download the PDF file for the solicitation and open it in the Acrobat Reader. If you open it in the Acrobat Reader, that's where you can access the attachments. So there are a series of attachments included in the embedded sort of in the PDF file with the solicitation. And these include important documents for completing your application. So there's a cover page attached here, which you'll want to open up and fill out. It's a fillable PDF form. You want to fill out that cover sheet and attach that to the front of your application that you submit to us. There's also a budget template here in Microsoft Excel. You'll want to prepare your budget for the scholarship using that template. And then there's some other documents here that are referred to in the application, including a list or the fiscal year 22 recent NASA strategic plan document, another document that's provided to us from NASA, which has information about research priorities for NASA. And we ask you to comment on these things in your proposal. And that's why it's important to look through these documents to try to articulate in your proposal why your proposed research project is relevant to NASA. We also include in here references to the statewide NVSGC Science and Technology Plan. That's the second to last one here, and also a state economic plan from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. Usually in our programs, we ask proposers if they can to try to articulate how their project relates to the goals that are articulated in these documents as well. And I'll talk about those more as we go along. But opening the solicitation in the Acrobat Reader is important so that you can access these supporting documents. On the undergraduates, detail of the undergraduate program, you have to be an NVSGC undergraduate student to apply for this program. And we'll talk about eligibility in just a second. The review process actually does distinguish between lower division students and upper division students, and so both are eligible to apply, and we ask probably in the either on the cover page or on the submission website, it's asked for you to designate whether you are upper division or lower division, and we consider that information when we perform the peer review or the external review of these proposals. Who is eligible? NC students who are full-time undergraduate students who are enrolled at in a STEM program at an NC campus are eligible to apply. We offer the scholarship either as a summertime scholarship for summer of 2025, where you would receive $3,000 scholarship at the beginning of the summer semester, or we offer it as an academic year scholarship where you would receive half of the award, $1,500 at the beginning of the fall semester, and the second half of the award, $1,500 at the beginning of the spring semester. We ask you to determine at the time that you apply whether you would like your scholarship over the summer or whether you want it during the school year. And these are project-based awards. So as we go through this, we'll talk about the fact that the program is based on you proposing a project that is mentored by a faculty member. And so you'll want to make that decision with your mentors whether this is a research project that you're going to work on over the summer of 2025 or during the 2025-26 academic year. And that will drive how you respond to that when you apply. Potential project areas. Space Grant exists for the purpose of providing STEM education and workforce development activities in STEM topic areas of importance to NASA. So we emphasize STEM topics. So we're looking to fund scholarship projects that are in a STEM topic, and ideally a STEM topic that is relatable to NASA's priorities in some areas. And again, we'll review that as we work through the details of the application. But we do ask you in your proposal to articulate how your project is relevant to NASA's interests. And if there are questions about that, your mentor can help you with that. And also, we're available to help with that as well. So if you're unsure about how to establish a connection between your project and NASA priorities, please get in touch with me, and I can help clarify that as best I can based on my understanding of knowledge of NASA and my knowledge of NASA's priorities, and I can help you brainstorm how your project ideas may relate. Again, we talked about the award period, summer or academic year. We talked about the deadline already. Enrolled, eligibility. STEM eligibility must be in good standing with your home institution. Deadline again. Some of this information is repeated. Students engaged in a STEM area are encouraged to apply. However, your research topic, as I said, must directly address a NASA Mission Directorate research priority. If you, and again, these are mentored projects. So one of the things that we ask you to do is name who the mentor of the project is going to be and get a letter of support from the mentor where they will articulate that they are committing to advising you in the project. If you are interested in the scholarship, but you do not have a mentor, I encourage you to go to the STEM Mentor Network website, which is maintained by the EPSCoR office, the NC EPSCoR office. If you go there, you can find faculty members who have, by virtue of being listed here, they are faculty who are interested and willing to mentor students on these kinds of independent projects. That's the purpose of the STEM Mentor Network website. So you can find Mentor there. And there's some additional details here about finding a STEM mentor. The goal of the scholarship program is to support authentic NASA relevant research experiences. Be sure to read the directions in this solicitation carefully when preparing your application. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is a $3,000 scholarship. We provide the funds through the financial aid office. That is our primary mechanism for distributing funds, especially funds that are in the form of a scholarship or a fellowship to students. But your ability to receive funding through the financial aid office depends on your financial standing with the university, and depends on your eligibility to receive financial assistance through the financial aid office. We don't control any of those details. Those are between you and the financial aid office at your campus. So we encourage you to contact the financial aid office and confirm with them. You can tell them that you're applying for this, you're applying for a $3,000 scholarship, and find out from them if there are any issues with your eligibility to receive a $3,000 scholarship through this program. Those are the one class of question that we can't really answer for you, that only your scholar or your financial aid office at your campus can answer. And then we can't really advise you on how the award might affect your tax status. So those questions have to go to the IRS. Let's see, anything here, program guidelines that we haven't touched on yet. Item 1, I think we've touched on. Item 2 here, if you are awarded a scholarship, we do collect a bunch of data that are required for us to collect and report to NASA. That includes longitudinal tracking, which means we like to understand what happens to our students after they receive an award from us. If they go on to continue in a STEM topic area, if they end up ultimately pursuing higher education in a STEM topic or employment in a STEM area. That's the kind of information that we try to capture over time and report to NASA in terms of articulating the impact of these systems. So you will be asked to periodically provide reporting information to us. And if you receive a scholarship, you will receive some more detailed information about that reporting. But by receiving your scholarship through this program, you're agreeing to do that reporting to us. We also try to include information on our website. So we like to capture a headshot of students that we fund and provide information on our website about their project. We also encourage women members of underrepresented groups in particular to apply to our program, although we expect guidance under the current administration from NASA on performing the peer review in a manner that's blind to gender, race, and ethnicity. We anticipate further guidance from NASA on those aspects of these programs as we go along. Application instructions. So this is very important. You must apply to receive the award. We again encourage you to talk to the financial aid office. Make sure you're eligible to receive a $3,000 scholarship through your financial aid office. Each application consists of completing an online form at the link that I mentioned before. And we will request as part of that process that you upload a single PDF document with your application materials. The application materials that you will prepare and upload for submission are described in detail here, which I will review briefly. Again, this is all submitted online through our application portal. That's the link that I showed you before, or here is the actual URL to that. site. Project description. So the main body of your application is a description of a mentored project that you will conduct during the scholarship period. This is limited to 2 pages. The design of the proposed project may be the result of a collaborative effort between you and your mentor. However, we expect that the student is writing the proposal. So we don't want proposals written by your mentor. Again, it's entirely valid and expected that you will meet with your mentor, talk about your mentor, get advice from your mentor on how to write the proposal, what should be included in the proposal, what the steps of the project might be, what the timeline for the project. All of those we expect you to discuss with your mentor and receive guidance from your mentor if necessary. But we do expect that the student writes the proposal. And also note that when I get these reviewed, I assemble a panel of NSHE faculty to review them. That NSHE panel will represent a sort of broad range of expertise, but I can't guarantee that any of them will have specific expertise in the topic of your proposal. So make sure that you write the proposal in a manner that anybody who is an experienced educator in STEM topics can understand. So don't use a lot of jargon that is specific or unique to the topic area of the proposal. Try to use generally understood terms by experts in STEM fields. In limiting your project to the 2-page limit, be sure to adhere to at least 1-inch margins, and please use a readable font in 12-point. We usually recommend Times New Roman or a sans serif font like Arial. One of the standard fonts in 12-point is acceptable. What do we expect to be the contents of that 2-page project description? We expect a title, a brief summary or abstract of the proposal up front, 50 to 100 words, some introductory content that introduces the project, the background. We expect you to articulate. In fact, I think now we ask you to name which NASA mission directorate your project is most closely aligned with. That is information that we are asked by NASA to provide. And we ask that you articulate in your proposal how your project is relevant to that particular NASA mission directorate. And again, if there are questions about that, we encourage you to talk to your mentor about it. And if there are still questions about it, we encourage you to reach out to me. I can help with questions about that. Objectives and the research hypothesis. We ask that you provide a sort of clear articulation of the research problem that you are going to solve and what the objectives of the project are. A good way to do that is to pose a research hypothesis. That's not the only way to do it, but many of the students who apply to this program do try to articulate a research hypothesis or at least a research question. And the introduction of your proposal would likely try to articulate why that question exists as an outstanding research question that is useful to answer. And then some detailed plans for the actual research to address that hypothesis or that research question. What are the methods? What are the tasks that you intend to complete? And then include a timetable. It's a good practice to articulate a handful of specific tasks, break the project up into 3 or 4 specific tasks, and then provide a timeline when you expect to complete each of those tasks. And then a plan for how you're going to report the results. We invite all the students that receive scholarships and fellowships in our programs to bring a poster to our annual meeting, which happens in the spring. This year, we're doing our meeting at UNR on March 10th. People who receive this award in this round will be invited to our meeting next spring. Ideally, we usually aim for April, in fact, late April for that meeting. This year is sort of unusual. We're doing it in mid-March. But next year we'll be in Southern Nevada, and we will aim to try to schedule that meeting in mid to late April. Other places you might want to consider presenting your poster or presenting your research results. If your mentor suggests for you to go to a disciplinary meeting in your topic area, that's great. Or any of the other undergraduate research showcase events that happen on the campuses would also be good places to present your results. Or if your mentor thinks this might be something that you guys will write up for publication, that would be great too. Articulate that. Those are the items A through G here that fall within that 2-page limit. These other items do not fall within that 2-page limit. References, you can have a list of references or citations from your document, from your proposal. That's outside of the 2-page limit. We ask that you include transcripts. Those can include downloaded or scanned unofficial transcripts from your institution. We ask that you include a biographical sketch for yourself, and there's some guidelines on how to do that. And endorsement letters of support. We require that you include at least one letter from the mentor. That letter should include some comments from the mentor on the project, why they think the project is useful, and clearly articulate that they are committing to supervising and mentoring you as you complete the project. There's more details there. We also ask that the student complete a statement of interest. This is a way of us for gauging the student's interest in STEM topics. If you have a particular interest in NASA-related topics, please expound in this document about why it is that you have this particular interest. If you have career goals in mind, please articulate those. Why are you interested in STEM topics? Are you interested in a STEM career moving forward? Even if not, how you see STEM classes and a research project in a STEM topic fitting into your plans down the road. Any of that kind of content we include, please consider including in your statement of interest. You will bundle all those documents together into a single PDF document. You will also include, as I mentioned in the attachments, here is a cover page. You'll want to pull out extract this cover page PDF from the attachments here, fill that out, and include that on the front of your PDF document that you upload. Trying to see if there's any other specific guidelines here. I don't think so. We will convene a panel, as I said, usually it's a panel of NSHE faculty that will read all the applications and rank them. And then we will complete the selection based on the recommendations of that panel. We aim to get that done by May 2025. So those who apply for a summer scholarship, we have time to notify them and reach out and then do the process of getting the money from our offices to the financial aid office. Note that sometimes there are delays in getting the funding to students. We try to do our processes as fast as we can, but we can't necessarily be in control of delays that might happen at your campus financial aid office. Again, that's why we encourage you to talk to your financial aid office, establish ahead of time that you are eligible to receive, and that there aren't any delays due to your own eligibility to receive financial aid. Also, we receive the funds for this is based on federal awards that we receive from NASA to the NSHE sponsored project office. It is possible that there could be unforeseen delays in us receiving funds from NASA for these programs. Especially right now, there's some uncertainty about federal funding, so those are processes that we can't control. But at this moment, we don't have any reason to believe that we can't make these awards in a timely manner. Here is the contact information at the end. Here's my contact information. Do feel free to send me an email or call my office phone. Carol Luna is listed here as our project administrator. She actually recently left our offices, so she cannot help you, but Darlene's contact information is here as well. And one of Darlene's tasks is to be the primary point of contact for students in our student programs. So she is always a great first point of contact. And she maybe gets less email than I do, or maybe not, I'm not really sure, but sometimes I'm not the quickest at responding to emails because I get a lot of email and I have a lot of demands on my time. So you might start with Darlene, and if she can't answer your question, she will reach out to me and we will get it answered. Let me quickly, assuming that some of you may be graduate students, let me quickly switch to the grad student solicitation, and I will just highlight the differences between a lot of the material overlaps, so I don't need to belabor it. One thing that's different is the deadline. The deadline is, I believe, a week earlier for the graduate fellowship, or maybe 2 weeks earlier. March 14, 5 p.m. is the deadline for the graduate fellowship. So if you're a graduate student applying for the fellowship, please, same comments apply. You will submit your proposal through our website. Please do not wait until the afternoon of March 14 to start your submission. Please start your submission well enough in advance so that if there are technical difficulties, you have time to recover from that. Again, if proposals are not received by 5 p.m., irrespective of technical challenges, we can't guarantee that we will review them for funding. So please start early and reach out to us if you have any difficulties ahead of that deadline. Same thing with the attachments. The same documents are attached here. So please open this solicitation in the Adobe Acrobat Reader so that you can get those attachments. Who is eligible? U.S. citizens that are full-time graduate students are eligible to apply. The citizenship requirement of these programs is a mandate from Congress. We cannot make these awards to students who are not U.S. citizens by law. That's the way Congress wants it. That's why that law is there, or that's why that rule is there on our funding program. Same things apply. These are for supervised, mentored projects with a faculty mentor. So you need to name your mentor when you apply. Potential project areas. Same things apply here. We're looking for projects in STEM topics that are related to priority areas of NASA. Again, we can help with that if you are a mentor and you have questions. The fellowship amount is different from the scholarship amount. The fellowship amount is $20,000 per academic year. These are generally given as awards, where half the award is given in the fall semester, so $10,000 at the beginning of the fall semester and $10,000 at the beginning of the spring semester, again, made through the financial aid office. So please check your eligibility to receive this award by reaching out to your financial aid office. We do sometimes run into issues where students, because of their financial aid, the issues of financial aid rules, they can't receive the full award. Again, those are questions we can't necessarily answer for you on your eligibility to receive funds. You have to talk to your financial aid office for that. Applicants must be citizens, again, permanent residents or green card holders or those on a student visa are not eligible for this program, unfortunately. You must be enrolled full-time in a master's or doctoral program to be eligible for the graduate fellowship program. There's the deadline again. Again, potential areas. This is the same guidance that's in a scholarship. We accept proposals on a wide range of STEM topics, but we do ask that the proposals articulate how the topic of the proposal is relevant to NASA. We ask that you name which NASA mission directorate the project is most closely aligned. And it's good to articulate, don't just say in your proposal, my project is aligned with the science mission directorate because I'm doing a science project. try to be as specific as you can. Say, like, I'm an earth scientist. Sorry. Sorry, my phone's ringing. I'm an earth scientist. A lot of my work is funded through the Science Mission Directorate. I use satellite data to study earth science. So what I do is I go to the Earth Science Mission Directorate content at NASA, and I articulate how my projects relate to specific goals that are articulated by NASA to use satellites to better understand the Earth system. So I put that kind of content in my own proposals. When I write proposals to NASA, we look for that kind of content. So try to be as specific as you can. And again, talk to your mentor about that. If there's still questions about how to articulate that after you talk to your mentor, please feel free to reach out to me. I can help with that. Again, full-time students, if there's questions about that, please reach out to Darlene or I. We can talk about eligibility. Same reporting, we will ask you to participate in our reporting. So same as I talked about earlier. All of this is the same as the scholarship application instructions. The application instructions are fairly similar. You will prepare a single PDF document. You will upload it through our website to apply for our program. The technical document, the actual research proposal, the page limit is different for the graduate fellowship. It's 4 pages, whereas for the scholarship, it is 2 pages. That just reflects the fact that we expect these projects to be more advanced, a little bit more technically complicated. Often these projects relate to master's or PhD thesis or dissertation work. So we offer a little more space to describe the details of the project for the graduate fellowship. But in terms of what to include in the proposal document, these are essentially the same guidelines: a title, an abstract, a short abstract, introductory material, how your project is relevant to NASA, include that in the introduction material. Again, be as specific as you can. The objectives, try to articulate a research hypothesis or a research question that you're trying to answer, and then describe specific tasks or methods that you're going to apply to answer that research question or address or test that research hypothesis, and a timetable for those tasks. So again, specificity is good. Articulate specific tasks and then say when you expect to complete each of those tasks through the school year. And then plans for reporting. These are graduate projects. We expect a lot of the graduate students probably to present at professional meetings if your mentor is able to support your travel to or if you want to use the scholarship funds, or sorry, the fellowship funds to travel to a national scientific meeting and present your results, that's great. Presenting at student research symposia at your campus is great. And you will get an invitation to present at our meeting, which I talked about before. And so talk about how you're going to present your results. And if you expect that the project will be part of a manuscript to be submitted for peer review, mention that as well. Same rules apply. I'm going to convene a panel. It will be a different panel of faculty to review these than review the undergraduate scholarships, but similar idea. It will be faculty from across NSHE, and I can't guarantee that they will be experts in the topic area of your proposal. So please make your proposal understandable by faculty members from a broad array of STEM topics. Items in your proposal that are outside of the 4-page proposal page limit, the references and citations, include a list of references and citations, will not count towards the page limit. Transcripts, please include your transcripts. Letters of endorsement, we encourage 2 to 3 letters. One of those letters should be from your mentor. Again, your mentor should be able to speak to the value of your project and also speak to their commitment to supervise and mentor the project. We do encourage you to solicit at least 1 or 2 additional letters of support from faculty members, or if you've had internships at a NASA center or internships in industry and you have a mentor at those internships that's relevant, those are great letters to have as well. We do offer a mechanism by which people who are writing letters can submit letters directly to us through our website rather passing them through the student, so that those letters can be submitted to us anonymously and candidly from your mentors. Please don't wait till the deadline to reach out to potential letter writers. I should have said this for the undergraduates as well. Find mentors. If you're still looking for a mentor for your project, start early, start now, and make sure that your mentor and other letter writers know well in advance of the deadline that you would like them to submit letters to us. And when you solicit those letters, be sure to tell them of the deadline and tell them how they can submit those letters directly to us. That applies to both the undergrads and the graduates. Let's see, a CV or biographical sketch of the student. Please include that. Again, you can use the guidance here and the template for that. And then we asked that our graduate students who apply also include a statement of interest. This is where you talk about your general interest, your interest in STEM topics, your interest in NASA-related topics, your career plans, and how this project may relate to your future career plans. Please include that in the statement of interest as best you can. I get these reviewed. The review panel will assess the relevance, how well you articulate the relevance of your project to a NASA mission directorate. So please, again, be specific on that. They'll examine the quality, novelty, and feasibility of the research project, the motivation of the student, the preparation of the student to do the work. They will look at the recommendation letters. They will assess whether or not the mentor has clearly articulated that they will mentor the student. So occasionally we get letters from mentors that don't make it clear that they are committing to mentoring the student through the school year as they perform this project. So please tell your mentors that we are looking for that commitment in their letter. Let's see, and clearly define products that will come out of your project. As we talked about before, presentations, manuscripts, whatnot. Helpful note, I hope that this was on the undergraduate one as well. Excellent submissions to this program are ones that are responsive to the points and the questions to what I've talked about already that we asked for in the solicitation. Proposals that articulate and are succinct in terms of describing to anyone with a general science background the importance of the project and how they will perform the project. And then again, that clearly articulate a connection to NASA priority. Again, this one says review completed by April. I don't know why this one says April and the other one says May. I guess this one has a slightly earlier deadline. Anyway, for both of these programs, we aim to try to get the peer review completed in advance of the summer so that we can get all the funds transferred to the campus. And then again, our contact information is at the bottom here. Anything I missed, Darlene?
No, but I will check on that deadline, Eric. I think that was probably a typo.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the bottom line is on the review, I get it done as quickly as I can. If it takes longer, it's just because I haven't gotten all the reviews back, or sometimes there's a slight delay. It takes me some time to find willing reviewers. We do get the review done as quickly as we can. If you're waiting to hear results from your proposal, you can feel free to reach out to us and say, hey, what about my scholarship? The answer will probably be that we haven't completed the review yet. because usually as soon as we get the review done, we try to get the results out. But it should be in the April to May timeframe.
Yeah, and you can call me or email me. I will answer to both, so that's fine.
All right, I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to open it up for questions. Any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question, or if you don't want to talk, you can type a question in the chat.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. For the statement of interest, how long should that document be?
Good question. See if I put a page limit. No, if I guess there isn't a specific page limit placed on this. I would say that these documents are typically a page and a half to 2 pages, you know, a few
Thank you.
paragraphs.
Yeah, I've also seen a half page, but it's probably harder to articulate what you want in that smaller portion.
Yeah, I would say at least a page. You know, we want you to address all of these aspects that are listed here: your interests, your background, your interest in STEM topics. If you have a particular interest in NASA, talk about why that is. Talk about other experiences you've had, courses that were influential, or if you had an internship that was influential. Talk about all of that. If you're involved in, you know, we have applicants that are involved in the aerospace clubs or the rocketry clubs or stuff like that, or things you did in high school if they're relevant, perfectly valid to include. So long enough to include all of that. And I would think half a page would be pretty short for that. So I would aim for a page to 2 pages.
You know what, Eric? I'm looking at I don't know if it was in previous um I guess guidelines, but it says 1 page max.
Does
And
it
I
say?
didn't see that, yeah, but I didn't see that
Oh, it
on
does.
this.
Sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
the statement of interest must be no more than 1 page. I apologize. So there is a page limit there. So I'm looking at the, so aim for 1 page. Sorry for the
Perfect.
confusion on that.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, maybe we should make that bullet pointed. So when
Yeah.
somebody asks me that question, I see it. So question in the chat, is the review process officially blind? It is not. So the reviewers, it's one-way blind, which is typical for most federal funding programs up until now have been an essentially a review process where the reviewers see who the applicant is, but the applicant doesn't know who the reviewers are. So that's the way we run these. We would have to completely rethink the statement of interest part and the transcripts and all that if we wanted to go to a double-blind review process. So at this point, we don't operate that way. So the reviewers will see you, they will see your records, and that's the way we run it for now. And then the second question you're asking about, additionally, given the current landscape in federal funding, is there a likelihood this program might lose funding this year? I would say, let me say, we do not at the moment have the funds in hand. It's actually a transition year for us. Space Grant is funded in 5-year increments. Our current 5-year increment actually ends in April of this year, and our next 5-year increment starts in April. That funding, we wrote a whole proposal for the next 5 years of Space Grant, including this program. That proposal has been reviewed and approved. We have a letter of award from NASA saying that our next year's funding is coming to us. This program is congressionally mandated. It actually says in NASA's appropriation that NASA shall fund Space Grant at no less than $60 million and no less than $800,000 per state. That's what it says in the appropriations language. That's about as clear cut as it can be in terms of mandating legally that the funds be made. But it is the case that the current president is trying to make distribution of funds for certain programs as difficult as possible. So I can't guarantee that there won't be complications in getting the funding. But at this point, we have received no guidance from NASA that cause us to believe that we won't get the money, I guess. That's as positive as I can be, but everything's in a state of flux. I will say that Space Grant Program has had explicit demographic goals. It was a previous requirement that we establish diversity goals and collect data to report on those. My anticipation is that that guidance will go away, that we will probably be advised to not collect demographic data for the purpose of achieving diversity goals for these programs. That probably will be a change. We haven't received that guidance from NASA yet, but I anticipate we'll receive some guidance along those lines. I can't guarantee that Space Grant won't be a target because of the fact that it has had in the past explicit diversity goals. But also it's congressionally mandated, and we expect Congress to go to bat to fight to keep this program going. And that's the best I can say. And the Nevada delegation, who I meet with annually to talk about this program, they're always real positive, and they always go with the intent of specifically fighting to keep this program funded. So that's the best I can say at this point. Any other questions? All right.
I do
Yeah, go
have
ahead.
one, Eric. In today's meeting, you said that fellowships present in the statewide meeting, but I have been telling students to prepare a poster since the poster presentation is coming up. Should they be preparing for an oral presentation?
No, presenting a poster. So contributing to our poster conference. And for those students that are here, what we typically do at our meeting, we have a student poster session that runs 2 to 3 hours. We try to get as many of the students as we can to present. And then we usually set aside 15 minutes during the meeting to invite students to come up one at a time and just give a quick 30-second oral overview of what's on their poster. And so there is a chance for a quick oral presentation. And so Katerina is asking in the chat about how many applicants does grad fellowship receive? Good question.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
We get quite a bit. It's a pretty competitive yeah. Fellowship. Just in the past year, I remember we received about 30 something.
I would say we got it has fluctuated. So 2 years ago, we received, I would say, about 15 applications for the fellowship. And I think most, if not all, of the fellowship applicants were approved. Last year, we received closer to 25 to 30 applications.
Yeah, it was double the previous.
Yeah, and it was much more competitive. So probably only about half got funded last year. So what will we get this year? I don't know. I mean, I think there's some reason to believe that the larger applicant number might be the trend going forward, that there's a little bit more visibility and a little bit more popularity for this program. But I don't know. It could be that last year was just kind of a fluke. Ideally, in my opinion, I would prefer it to be more competitive. We get a better caliber of project when we have a more competitive program. We try to fund as many of the student projects as we can. So that's basically what I can say to that. And the other thing I will say, which I didn't mention, which is a question I received by email, we do sometimes have students who received fellowships last year apply for fellowships again. And we do say in the solicitation that we emphasize new applicants. So 2 years ago, I believe there were 1 or 2 students who had fellowships the previous year applied, and we were able to give them another fellowship because we were able to fund all the fellows that applied. Last year, we weren't able to do that. So we did have 1 or 2 folks who applied for a second year of funding, and we had to tell them, sorry, we can't fund you because we had so many good new applicants. And our policy at this point is to favor new applicants over recurring applicants. So I don't know if anybody here is, I don't think anybody here is one of our applicants from last year, but we do emphasize new applicants over renewing applicants when we make these awards. Any other questions?
I had a quick one about the budget. So the $20,000, that's total including any salary, any travel, anything else. Is that correct? There's no supplement for any additional travel or supplies?
Yeah, that's correct. It's $20,000 all inclusive. So, you know, and it's a fellowship. So it's sort of like, you know, you can use it however you want. If you're using it for your grad, if you're applying it to your grad stipend, it can apply there. If you're not, you can set some of it aside for travel. And the other thing I would say on this for graduate students that are on here, there was some confusion about having if you have a research assistantship that is funded by, like say through your advisor's grant, that does not mean you're ineligible for the fellowship as well. It's just your income might affect your ability to receive the fellowship through financial aid. So if you're receiving a grad stipend through a research assistantship, you might go to your financial aid office and talk to them about your eligibility to receive both. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, I think we've reached the hour. If there's no other questions, we're gonna end the recording and end the meeting. Thanks all for coming. And if you have friends that are interested, let them know that we're going to post the recording of this as quickly as we can. So if you have friends that weren't able to see it, you can tell them to go to our website and find the recording.